Okay. Got it.
Teamwork.
Yay.
Okay, now we're ready for you.
Mhm. Okay, so now I'll do share. Great. Now let's see if everyone can see this. Yay. Welcome to the program. Do you want to do introductions? Is that what you're thinking, Lisa?
No, I think we're just gonna go right
into it? You want me to
group
just
norms.
jump in?
Yeah, because we've got so many people that it takes about 45 minutes, which is a shame. We need to brainstorm and figure out how to still keep introducing each other to ourselves, because that's important.
Yeah.
But from last week, well, from the very first week, we talked about group norms. We talked about why they're important. We talked about how they're kind of this thing that's mostly done in the United States in large corporations and mostly in professional settings. So since all of you are multi-degreed, multilingual professionals, understanding group norms and how they show up in the workplace is something important to know. So everyone did such a great job. And when AG and I were going through all of the poll content that you entered in the Zoom poll, these were the 4 most common recommended group norms out of, I would say, like 15 entries. So we were really excited that everybody had very similar desires for what our group norms should be. So you can see them on the screen. Be on time, be muted when you're not speaking, use your full name on screen. That's important just so that we can get to know each other. It's also important from a security perspective. We have to be sure that the people we're admitting into the Zoom session are people who have been approved to be in the group. And that's because sometimes there have been instances where people have hacked into sessions and caused disruption. So we just want to keep everybody safe. This is a place where we can all practice talking about our lived experiences. We can practice our professional skills to land the jobs that we deserve and are qualified for. So we want to make sure that this is a place that doesn't get disrupted. This was the third one, I would say, is probably the third and the fourth. A lot of feedback on this one. So share ideas and lived experiences and discussions, either verbally or via chat. And treat each other with respect, which everybody has done an amazing job. I wouldn't expect anything different from this group. So those are the top 4 that everybody voted on, and that is how we're going to move forward in engaging with each other for the next few months. So any questions, comments? Does that reflect what people were thinking and wanting to have as the way we govern ourselves? All right, so I'm not seeing anything on that. AJ, can you check if anyone's in the waiting room? Because I can't see that now that Casey's driving the power.
Yes, I can check that.
Okay. So
Great.
thank you, everybody. I think it was really awesome that everyone participated in the group norms. I think this is a really interactive group, and as each week goes by, we're just going to learn more and more from each other. So tonight is about resume writing, and I have the pleasure of introducing Casey Foley, who this is her 3rd time participating as our resume writing expert. She's an expert in many other things. And we're just really fortunate to have Casey here along with some of our resume coaches as well.
Right.
and we'll introduce them towards the end of the session. So Casey is an executive career coach. She has built her career in human resources, but really on the foundation as a business person, which is important. She believes there are many ways for people to achieve their goals, which are listed out here, and she can speak to those in more detail. I met Casey years ago when I was participating in a company called Navigate Forward. They have an outplacement service for executives. And we are very blessed that the owner and some of the consultants at Navigate Forward have donated their time and their resources and some of their tools to our program. So I know I've talked about this before, but the tools and the processes and the approaches that you all are learning are advanced job seeker skills that typically professionals who have been working in the United States in very large organizations for at least 20 years have accessibility to. So we're very grateful to Navigate Forward and to Casey and to leverage her energy and her expertise tonight.
Great. Thank you. Is this my cue to jump in?
That's your cue. It's your
Okay.
time.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And I should say to everyone, I have had many jobs. As you can see, I've worked in many different industries. I have been laid off numerous times. So I have been up and down in the American economy. And over the years, I have learned generally the hard way that working a good process, never giving up, keep going, keep learning from the job market is the way to land a job. It's hard to land a job, no matter who you are. Getting into the job market is the hardest thing. Once you're in the job market, it's much easier to move. But we've all been through this challenging time. And I just want you to know, hang in there, stick with it. And hopefully a lot of these tips will help. And we'll get on with it, right? And feel free to jump in and ask questions anytime along the way. And so what we're going to be doing is focusing on three things, learning how to highlight your strengths, and that's mainly through the resume format. And I know one of my colleagues, Richard Dodson's going to be talking about LinkedIn. I don't know if he's already talked about it but he will be, correct, Lisa? Yep. And that will reinforce what I'm talking about, and you'll be able to leverage what you're learning there back with your resume as well. You're going to be presenting your unique value. We're going to talk about that. This notion of your personal brand, which really is, what are your strengths? What are the things that make you stand out in the market, different from other people? Because you want to find employers that want what you have to offer. You don't want to have to try to be a square peg fitting into a round hole. I tried to do that. It's not very satisfying. It's much easier to let people know what you're really good at and look for places that want that. So that's what we mean when we talk about a resume that's going to showcase your potential and what you're really good at. So specifically, I know you've read some articles about creating your personal brand, and we'll talk about that. In those brand statements, you're talking about your potential. You're also going to be talking about that in your resume. We're going to talk about a resume format that's typically 2 pages and a networking format that's 1 page. And then we'll go over cover letter, which should never be more than 1 page. And you'll put it on your email, but you'll also probably have an attachment that's that as well. And then you're going to get tips from all the other experts that are on here. I see many of them have joined us. So we're going to start with just a quick check-in with those of you that are comfortable sharing what you've learned from those 2 articles about creating a personal brand. And if anyone wants to share their brand or talk about that. I will tell you, I looked at the articles and those brand statements are very sophisticated. My own is not that polished and snazzy. So you don't necessarily need something that's like right out of an advertising agency, just so you know. But anyway, so comments, questions, concerns, anybody want to talk about that personal branding stuff? Let's see. If somebody's raising their hand, I probably can't see you. So,
Well, I can see it, and I'll tell you.
oh, okay, good. Thank
Well,
you, Ahmad.
Yeah, we actually have two participants.
Oh, good. Let me see. So,
Yeah, one is actually you, Casey. The other's Eden. Eden.
oh, okay, Eden.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hi, Eden. Let's see if we can. Is there a way to? Let me find Eden. So, Eden, tell me your question, comment.
I think I'd just like to share. I just read one of the articles, and
Yes.
and I was going through the different brands that people made, and I was able to notice something. One is to be short and precise, and clearly spell out what the skills that you have and how you can be actually marketable. And that was something that I learned from that. I have had my own objectives. I put it like objectives actually when I write my resume, but it's something that I learned from there is actually to speak more about the skills that you have and how you can be marketable, and should be very short, brief, and precise. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is the challenge. And you'll find that you may refine that as you're in the job market. And certainly as you're working with your coaches, you're going to refine that more and more. And that is one of the beauties, I think, of this process is, is you get to work with other people and get their feedback.
And Casey, one of the things that you taught me, because you were my consultant when I was in between jobs, I don't care to count how many times.
No, we can count together.
You taught me that a recruiter or a hiring manager will spend about 7 seconds reading that first paragraph of your resume. So the personal brand statement is really important to describe you as an individual and the value that you add, so that a recruiter or a hiring manager wants to keep reading your resume and then call you. Can you maybe speak to that element of the importance of the personal brand statement on the resume?
Yeah, absolutely. And so and this takes a while, so working with your consultant is really important because for all of us, it's harder to talk about ourselves, and marketing ourselves oftentimes feels very uncomfortable. And so one of the ways that I suggest you look at this is think of yourself as a consultant, and what are the skills, abilities, knowledge, your expertise that you have to offer. And so that's where one of the first suggestions is to be really clear about your field of training, what your interests are. Are you in the healthcare field? Are you in software engineering? Are you in the hospitality field? What industry are you in that you can identify? And then using the present tense, you want to be talking about your accomplishments in terms of going forward. It's not just what you've done, but the reason we want you to use the present tense is these are the things that you want to do going forward. So you're starting out describing, I am a leader in the career coaching field, and I'm interested in working with people who are brand new to the job market and who are looking to leverage their talents in a way that really makes a difference, not only for the company they're working for, but for the rest of the world. So something like that. And, you know, you just start to draft that personal brand, and you want to make sure that it's authentic, it sounds like you, and that it really captures what you do well. And it takes more than one draft of this, and it's going to be more than just one thing you do well, but a number of things. And some people talk about it as your special powers, what you do that no one else does. I like to talk about it as what differentiates you. You know, it may be that because of your experience traveling in the world, you understand different cultures better and you bring that understanding to the workplace. It could be because you have strong analytical training, let's say in engineering and in the sciences. You know, you're able to bring that expertise into how you do your job. So each of you, as you work with your coach, your coach will help you pull out what makes you special in the job market. And that's what we want to emphasize. And then in terms of talking about what you deliver, so your consulting abilities and the difference you make, you're going to be using action words, talking about, you know, creating programs that are cost effective, creating programs that increase retention or increase participation. So they'll work with you on all of those based on your particular skill set. The other thing,
Mirwaz, I see your hand raised. Do you have a question
good.
for us?
Yeah, I mean, I have a question, but I would ratherly prefer to, so she could conclude her statement, then I would jump in and raise my question. Thank you.
That's all right. You can jump in now. Whoops. Yes,
Thank you
definitely.
so much. Thank you so much. I mean, definitely, I'm agree with the total of, I mean, skills and abilities a person carry, and also the change that he would or she would bring in the organization, or maybe in a corporate organization. But how about the credibility of those skills and I mean, that he would bring from other countries, like third countries like Afghanistan or maybe other countries, because the standards here in the United States is completely different than the standard that we were practicing in Afghanistan. And how would this affect the total branding of a professional? This is my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So what you say in your personal brand statements, you absolutely want to back up in the rest of your resume where you're listing, here's where I worked, here are my accomplishments. So that in your personal brand statement, every sentence you write down, someone, a recruiter, can say to you, gee, give me an example of that. And you've got those examples. As to different standards, you know, if you're able to develop a computer program, you know, code, if you're able to, you know, manage, you know, a healthcare operation, those skills transfer from one country to another. You know, and, you know, I may be wrong in terms of your experience. You know, if you've run into roadblocks like that, then that's worth strategizing with your consultant, how to talk about your experience in a way that employers will understand. But, you know, certain things, when you get results, you're getting results no matter what country you're in, you know, and so, you know, I mean, I guess that would be my answer. Is that helpful?
Well, Casey, Carlos has a question. Carlos says, should we have a different resume statements if we are applying to different industries? And Carlos, you can also ask your question Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to.
Oh, Carlos? Oh, here.
Hi,
Yes. So do we have
it is fine.
different?
You'll read it. It's fine. So yeah, I was wondering, sometimes when I apply for like different industries because my background is architecture and urban planning.
Yes.
Also have applied for some other industry as well. But I've been wondering if, because sometimes I know your statement and your resume is like something inherent of yourself, but sometimes has to be aligned to the industry you're applying.
Right.
So that's my questions.
Yeah. And you said architecture. And what was the second?
Yeah, my background is architecture, but I have some experience in urban planning.
Oh, urban planning. Okay.
Yeah. So there are kind of difference.
Yeah. But they overlap. I mean, one supports the other, right? Your understanding of urban planning enables you to work as an architect, especially in cities and urban settings, more effectively, I would think. And your experience as an architect also allows you to bring the notions of form and function into the urban setting too, right? Don't they just play back and forth? Well, anyway, so the traditional answer is ideally you want one resume, one brand statement to use across industries where your skills cross industries. So like if you talk about software engineering, you can do software engineering, not just in high-tech companies, but in finance. Walmart, has their own supercomputer and has been hiring tech people, for decades. So that's the ideal, is that you can describe yourself in all your complexity simply. So I would work on trying to talk about your architecture skills, for example, and your urban planning skills, and how having both sets allows you to work in both arenas and contribute more. You're not narrow.
Okay,
Does
thanks.
that make, and then, work with your consultant on that too, your coach, to help pull that out, so that people can see how to interpret your background. I mean, that's basically what you're doing with your personal brand statements, is saying, this is why I'm effective. I bring kind of stereo experience or multiple experience together, which enriches everything I do,
Thanks.
So, and it's easier to understand once you start doing it and working on drafts of your resume with that statement. Let's see. So now
We've
I
got another question, another great question. You guys keep the questions coming. This is amazing. So
Yes.
Aladad, I think we've got Aladad, and then Raina, I think you've got a question. So Aladad's asking, is the personal branding the same to summary of qualification and short statement that highlights your most relevant expertise?
Ideally, yes, it combines all of those in terms of the field you're in, and the career work you're doing with, and how you're able to do that is built on the background and the qualifications you have. And you're saying that generally, if you will, and then you're not specifying exact experience. What you're doing is summarizing your experience and your accomplishments in terms of the going forward. This is what I do for organizations. These are the results. This is the impact I have for companies, increasing revenue, recruiting more people, maintaining high quality standards in a manufacturing setting or healthcare setting, those kinds of things.
And I love
yes.
this next question. I knew we
Mhm.
were going to get a workout tonight, Casey. This group
Oh
is
yeah,
so
definitely.
engaged.
Yeah.
So Mirwaz has another question, which actually ties to something I wanted you to highlight, which is how much credibility of organizations affect the personal branding. So I was going to ask you to speak to this whole paragraph that kicks off your resume and kicks off your LinkedIn profile, ideally, and
Yep.
also kicks off how you verbally introduce yourself in a networking setting.
Mhm.
That's what Mirwaz is intuitively asking about, I think. And he's saying, because when we give examples of our skills and connect them to our professional career, the employers would definitely point that out. They would recognize that. And don't apologize for asking questions. This is what this is about. So can you speak to some of that, Casey, in terms of how does this professional brand statement impact like your instant credibility?
Well, you have to give, so what you want is for this paragraph about yourself to lead to questions. You want prospective employers or people you're networking with to say, give me an example. And then how, and then you give an example that's about under 2 minutes. You don't want to take a long time. You want to be able to briefly explain, when I was in Afghanistan or when I was in Mexico, this is what I was doing. And I used these skills, and this was the difference we made. This was the impact we made. And how you establish your credibility is by giving examples of the results you accomplished from your past. So it's a matter of answering questions behaviorally, if you will, and talking about results and impact. That establishes your credibility, because it's harder to make up results-oriented examples. And good employers and good recruiters know that past behavior predicts future behavior. So if, wherever you last worked, you got results, it's likely you're going to be able to get results in another organization doing similar things. It might take a while to get to know the team, to motivate the team, or to get to know the rest of the department that you're working in, or to understand their specific programs. But generally, if you can solve a problem or create a product or inspire a team in one organization, you can probably transfer those skills to another. And that's where giving real examples helps to give your credibility. I'm sure many of you have interviewed people as well, and the difference between theoretical answers and answers that are concrete, and it's those concrete examples that add to people's credibility. And it's one part of it. I mean, people will also that's why there are multiple interviewers oftentimes as well. And, that helps to establish your credibility too. Is that helpful?
And I think we have another good question here
Question?
from Baketa.
Yes. Oh yeah, sometimes the same department posts 2 different jobs. So this is tricky. It depends on which job. Usually companies want you, if they have 2 jobs open, they want you to apply for one. Unless they're in 2 different divisions or 2 different departments. So if it was in the same department, I would pick one job and send your resume. and then hopefully you can talk to a recruiter and find out from the recruiter what's going to be a better fit. What does the recruiter think? So that's where I would get their advice on, where they think you can have the best chance of getting hired. Otherwise, people start to think you're desperate, that you're just applying for any job and every job in that department. And you want to be able to say, I see you have this other position open, do you think I'm a better candidate for that job? That would be, or to the hiring manager, to ask the hiring manager. Any other comments on that? Lori, Lisa, Nancy?
Well, and I think Nancy White, great question. We do have examples. We've got an article that has examples.
2
of
articles.
ranking statement. Yeah, 2. And then Navigate Forward offered us their kind of framework for creating a brand statement. And then Nancy Frosch gave us a list of action words that, Casey referenced earlier, the importance of these powerful verbs, action verbs that we want in this opening statement and in all of our responsibility bullets on our resume. So those should be in everybody's binders. I think we've shared them with coaches in the past, but if we have any resume coaches who don't have that material ready, we can definitely send that out.
Yes.
Casey,
This is-
Tarek has his hands raised.
Yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
think he wants
good.
to.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Yes, jump in. Let's see. Where are you able to? I'm looking here. There, it's hard to see everyone. Oh, there we go. All right. Yes, Tarkan.
Okay.
Question. Mhm.
Okay.
Ah, good. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hmm.
Thank you. I really appreciate it that branding and all those items mentioned are really very interesting, and then I have no problem with those all the lists of information, but practical problem that I have been really just facing is as a degree immigrant and job seeker, I've been apply for different positions, and then I mentioned all those experience from past.
Yes.
In which I'm very interested. For instance, my experience and my interests are research, project management, and data analysis or business analysis or statistical analysis are my assets and then my interest.
Yes.
And then because of as a transition, now I'm working in manufacturing environment. However, I'm really just not as such interested as compared to my past experience and also my past career. I used to teach in college and universities, and then I engage in different community development projects and then research publications and all those stuff. I tried to mention all those experiences in my resume. And also at the same time, I listed all the current experiences in manufacturing industries, but many of industries or recruiters approaching from the current resume, I mean, the current experience that I have in United States.
Yes. And you want to get hired based on your your academic experience, your work. Yes.
I don't know. I'm trying to merge all together, but the experiences I have here in the United States is really exceeding. All the companies are approaching the same manufacturing industries and then the same role. And then I don't know how to get out of this. And then I'm trying to show up my experience, especially in research. And that's really the challenge that I'm facing. And can you just show me then how to deal with this issue?
Yes. A number of people are dealing with a similar issue that have been out of work, for a couple of years or a year because, they just after COVID, they just took time off. And so what I suggest on that is, so you put, your professional network in terms of what you want to do professionally. And then here I would list, what I would list is transitional work, or, and maybe put under there, this is, I've done a number of transitional jobs to strengthen my language skills, as part of this transition, into my career as a professor, community developer, things like that. So I would, and again, working with your coach, what you want to do is put this most recent experience, which is not your career experience, it's your transitional work experience. Or there, and somebody could probably come up with a much better name, but it's kind of, or a, some people call it their sabbatical, where they are, and you list as your sabbatical, professional sabbatical, doing research in X, Y, and Z, while also working, I did this, I worked at an Apple store selling computers and iPads while I looked for a job as a career coach, and so I would put it somewhere like that, create either professional sabbatical or professional transition, where, you focused on your career at the same time, earning a living, having a day job, because we all have to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and again, I'm counting on coaches. Feel free to call me, coaches, if you want more help on customizing this advice to what's going to work for you. And let's see, 2 more people have questions.
I think Raina had a question a while ago that I want to fit in. And this is great. You guys, thank you for the questions. And to Casey's point, and in our upcoming sessions, I think a lot of positioning yourself in the US job market is about networking. So it's about getting your base, your resume, your LinkedIn profile really solid in a more US traditional format, and then building your network so that people are becoming champions for you. So Raina, I think do you still have a question?
It wasn't a question, it was just a comment. English is my second language, and for me, in my experience, it was hard to talk about myself without sound arrogant, because it's so easy to jump that line, So
yes.
Yeah, it was with a slide about highlight your stretch. It's hard because I'm thinking in I speak in English, but my brain is in Spanish, still in Spanish. So sometimes it's super hard for me to say something, trying to don't be rude and sound rude, because in my brain is okay, that works.
Right.
But it's so complicated how to don't sound super arrogant when you are talking about yourself.
Absolutely.
With all the links you share with us, it was amazing to see another profiles, and looks so easy to do it, but it's not.
It's not.
Because it's hard to talk about yourself. It's super easy to talk about strengths from other person. You can talk about your friends, you can talk about your father or other person, but it's too hard to talk about you without sound super arrogant,
I totally get it. So this is all right. So this is really important. I'm so glad you brought it up. And you will find, being in the Midwest, Midwesterners are also a lot more modest usually than people on the East Coast in particular. Not to stereotype, but so one of the things I I think is important. Number one is having your coach. Your coach is going to help you rephrase and phrase your skills and accomplishments in a way that will be what Richard Dodson calls
The art of tactful
self-promotion. Thank
The
you,
book is in
Lisa.
your boxes. It
Yes.
was all gifted to you. Please read it.
Yes.
It's there for
So
a reason. Thank you, Ray.
yeah. So Richard talks about the art of tactful self-promotion, which is being able to talk about what you do in a consultative way, not out of ego, but saying, you know, if you have challenges like this, I have experience doing these kinds of things. And when I worked at, you know, Paradiso Mary, this is the difference I made. The whole point of working on this professional summary is practice, 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 talking about yourself. I spend like at least 3 sessions with a client working on that narrative, so that number one, it becomes clear when it's written in English, but number 2, people get comfortable talking about themselves using that language and being able to ad lib. But it does take a while. It's hard to shift gears into that, you know. But the book is great, and Richard is great talking about promoting yourself tactfully in a way that is not arrogant and boastful. But it does take practice.
Yeah, and I would say that that's going to be my last sentence. So I have the opportunity to make a presentation about my experience as a volunteer in English, and I make my presentation in English. So I practice in English, and it was well. I mean, I have a good recognition. It was good. So it was hard to try to explain that in Spanish, because when I did in Spanish, I sound arrogant, and somebody else told me, "You sound so arrogant." I was like, "No, I wasn't," and I was trying to, you know, change my languages, and it was so arrogant in Spanish.
Yes,
you know, so it's kind of complicated when the English is the second languages, and you have different perspective from you know, when you speak formal English, you have another perspective when you speak I don't know, the English you use in the street, you use in the store, you use nothing formal or for work. So that's a complicated way.
And I think that is the challenge, is how to manage your own cultural upbringing, which is modesty, and in so many cultures, not just Spanish culture, but all across the world. I mean, most cultures are a lot more modest. How should I say? They're not as aggressive as the US. You know, I have worked around the world, and it's just frustrating to come back to the United States and hear how you have to portray yourself to get a job, you know, because it's not it's countercultural for most of us. Yeah, it just takes practice, you know, and talking to people you know who have made that transition successfully. I think that helps. How, you know, I got into the work world way back when women weren't working in full-time careers. And what helped me was talking to women who had already gotten a career and listened to them and learned from them in terms of how they made that transition, because it was very different than my own experience. And I had worked in the academic world, and the academic world is very different than the business world. and for all of you, you know, the American culture is unique in good ways and in bad ways, as you, I'm sure, have run into. And yeah, tactful self-promotion is so American. At any rate, your coaches will help you with that. And what I want to do right now is just show you a resume that you can use, which is in your folder. And some people list their skills here. I like to make sure your skills are listed on your LinkedIn in your About section, and Richard will talk about that. And he'll also talk about how to list skills after each of your jobs on LinkedIn. But I think just list the most unique skills on your resume. You can go into a lot more detail on LinkedIn, but what you want is mostly your professional summary up here for that to really stand out. And then, whoops, I want to stay back here. And then you really want to take some time, and again, working with your coach to talk about what are your key accomplishments. So for those of you that have that transitional job, you're not going to spend a lot of time talking about accomplishments on that transitional job. You know, what you're going to do is acknowledge it. You know, this is my transitional work and professional development, and what you did. But basically, you want to really highlight those jobs and those companies that are the match for the work you're looking for here. Did that make sense? So what you want to do is emphasize those work experiences that are in your field. That's because you probably only spent maybe 1 or 2, you know, maybe 3 years in this transition, you know, where you're doing a job that's not in your field. And what we want to do is emphasize where all your expertise, your talent, your experience is. And that's really what focusing on your degrees is all about. And how do we highlight that? So this is a sample. You know, you can list your education, your languages. If you have professional achievements or awards, you can put that on. Community leadership, volunteer interests. If you don't, fine. If you do, put that on. Again, your coach will work with you on that. Here's, let's see, can you all see this? Kind of a different format. And again, you're going to, let's see, you can change the color. People like color. You can see this is blue. You can change, you know, so that it stands out more. And then, whoops, do we want to take a break right now? What time is it? It's 7.
Well, we're gonna
take a break at 7.
Well, AJ is tracking time for us, which is amazing. So you can go ahead and
Can I keep going?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I think we do need to probably do a 5-minute break.
And when do you want to do that?
Well,
How about after I do this?
Okay.
Just, you know, quickly, and I think you all
Absolutely.
have copies of this, right? You know, again, it's tips. You know, these are just some of them. You know, you're going to look at keywords in job postings, and what that's all about is, as you look at where you want to search for jobs, you want to get copies of the job postings, copies of job descriptions if you can, and look at what seem to be the keywords so that you can address that with examples in your terms of your accomplishments. And so, you know, that's, again, I'm just restating, taking those keywords from the job posting and then making sure your examples highlight those keywords. You know, so this is, I'm going from the big to the small here. You should also use Arial or Calibri fonts because they show up no matter what kind of computer somebody has and whether they're using Pages or Microsoft Word. In your resume, of course, you're only going to use what's relevant. And that's where it helps to have a coach and to have some other people look at it to make sure that you're really hitting on results and you're talking about impact. And again, you're using those power words, you're earned, completed, accomplished. You've increased revenue, you have streamlined processes, you have developed people's talents, those kinds of things. Again, we're repeating, you want to highlight your achievements, what you've accomplished. And you don't have to tell the whole story. The big thing is talk about the result and what you did to get there. And then ideally you want people you're networking with and that you're interviewing with to ask, tell me more, and you talk about more.
Yeah, and I think something,
mhm.
I'm just going to jump in here and
Yeah,
something that I know, Casey, you advocate for, and we should probably add it to the slide, is when you list your accomplishments, quantify.
Yes.
Right? Anything you can
Yes.
put a number to, a percent
Oops.
to, an outcome to. So it's one thing to say, led a team
Mhm.
of medical professionals. It's another thing to say, led a team of 12 medical professionals.
Mhm. Right. Or that you were able to reduce costs by X percent. So if you can quantify or qualify, that really can make a difference. And again, that adds to your credibility. Going back to how do you establish credibility? It's talking about results, because it's just harder to fabricate results, despite what Representative Santos has done. Please, if you're reading the news, fool me once, fool me twice. That guy keeps fooling people left and right. It's horrible. But as you can see, most people are better at getting at results and finding out what's true. I can't believe that guy wasn't vetted. But anyway, corporate America does seem to work a little bit better than that. Also the healthcare profession, et cetera. But list certifications. The reason you don't put an objective on is because that's what you want. What you're putting on here is what organizations want. That's why you look at job postings. What do businesses, healthcare centers, what do technology companies, service companies, what do they want people to do for them? And so what you want to do is present yourself in terms of what you do for the company. Your own criteria are things that you don't put on your resume. You don't say, I want a place that's diverse, that values creativity, that balances work life with home life, those kinds of things. Those are your criteria for deciding where to go or not. But your professional summary is presenting yourself in terms of what do companies need that I do well? And then proofread. And the only way to really check it out is to have somebody else read your resume. I have found on my own, in my own resumes, typos, all kinds of things that you just can't see after a while because you've been looking at it for so long. So get somebody else to look at it. And then finally, ideally you want to have one resume. I tried one time when I was between jobs doing a different resume for all different things, and I just went crazy. I kept customizing a resume for every job I applied for, and it's impossible to keep it straight. Your cover letter, which we're going to talk about after the break, is where you can customize what you've done in terms of a specific job. So, yes, these are things that I believe are in your materials. Is that right? Yes, the helpful resources. career values, list of action words.
Yep, those are all resources that are in your binders.
Yes.
And AJ will circle back at the end and ask, we just need to get an update on who has gotten all of their materials, but he will
Yes.
also send these out via link. So I think we should probably, are we at a point to take a 5-minute break? We've had such good questions that.
Yeah.
we've
And I
gone
do
a
want to
little-
mention, Marco, you mentioned the SMART format. That's exactly what you want to use. Some people call it the STAR format. It's the situation, it's a measurement, it's the action, it's the results that you take. That's one way of putting it. Other people talk about the STAR. It's the situation, task, action, and result. And that's how you describe your accomplishments. Is, you know, people have different acronyms they use, but that's, I'm just looking at these questions here.
Oh.
Tarkin, quantifying achievements. You know, I would have to look at your specific achievements and work with you one-on-one, I think, in terms of how you would quantify it. I mean, sometimes you just can't, and that's fine. You know, it's a result. You do your best, you put it on, but your coach should be able to help you find ways to quantify or qualify. In other words, talk about the qualitative results instead of the quantitative. I think, are there any other questions I should answer before we take a break? I think that's it.
I think we have one really, one question we're going to circle back to, and I'd love for all of our resume coaches to think about it, because I think with the amount of human resources experience we have
Mhm.
today, if you could all just kind of look at Mirwa's question about,
Oh, yes.
if you could talk about advantages and disadvantages of immigrant professionals in
In the
the
current job
competitive
market.
job market
Yeah.
compared to the millions of US citizens looking for jobs. I think maybe in our final Q&A, that could be a really good
Yeah.
question
There-
for
yeah.
our experts to weigh in on.
And I will tell you, every time you're on the job market, there's always a ton of competition. That's life. And then we'll take a break.
All right, we'll take a break and we'll
Okay.
come back, introduce everyone to who their career coach is going to be, and we'll finish with more Q&A, because this has been really, really helpful. Thank you.
I'm not
everybody.
gonna, good.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Let me know when you want to start.
I think we can start. I think people are back. And you know what? We need to do a screenshot. Right, AJ? Are we ready? Is everybody?
Oh, if we're gonna do that, let me stop share so we can see everybody,
Yes,
right?
let's do
Oh,
that. And
well, that's good,
everyone,
but-
now, we haven't been very consistent with our agreement to be on screen.
Yes,
well,
I would like to see all of those faces.
You guys, it's really hard, and Casey, you can help me out with this. It's hard to facilitate to black boxes.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And
I
we
do
know,
talk
like,
to
it's-
faces.
Sometimes it's really, really hard to be on screen. We're in different environments. We might not be comfortable. But it is, being in
You can-
virtual meetings is a thing in the United States, especially for professionals. So this is your time to get used to that. So
This is practice. The other thing I do is I do work with clients on how to make your background work for networking and interviews if you're going to do those online. So you find a blank wall or bookcases or blur, I'm not big on blurring myself, but you can practice, again, with your coaches. Make sure you're looking at the camera, not, at the person wherever they are. Ideally use one screen. I have worked with clients who wind up with two screens and they're always looking at that screen instead of me. So, make sure you're looking at the camera like you're a TV personality.
Yeah, well, for the screenshot, if we could try it one more time at the end of the program, because not a lot of people are on camera. If they could
Right.
be on camera, yeah, that would help us. Yeah, a lot.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. How's that? Ready, set? All right. So this is the one page. Whoops. What did I just do? Bear with me. One page networking resume format. And I think I've got two different examples here. So when you work with Richard on your LinkedIn, you're going to have your name, a headline from your LinkedIn profile. You may also, this is so sensitive here, have a little bit of a summary, more of a summary. Put your experience, whoa, it just doesn't want, and your experience, your skills, accomplishments, and then the second, this will all be on one page. It's split up like this, but basically, you're just putting your accomplishments and you list where you worked, just separately like that. And let me go to here's a one page. Here you can see what it looks like. You can add a photo if you want. Can everybody see that? Put the career history here, where you've worked, your expertise. And again, you're going to, whoops, sorry. You're going to have your coaches help you. And at the bottom, you're going to put your target opportunities. Can everybody see that?
And this is also in your binders, everybody. You've got, and then AJ will send you the Word template for this. It's a little bit clunky, but it's important to have for networking purposes, which we're going to start talking about next week. And then we're going to talk about LinkedIn and then networking again. It's important to have a summary of your background when you're doing networking meetings, because sometimes if you send your resume to someone or you bring them your resume, they get worried that, oh my gosh, AJ's asking me for a job in my company and I don't have any openings, or I don't know of any openings. So this creates an entirely different conversation about, like, here's where I'm at in my job search. That bottom section of your target opportunities or what you're really looking for. creates all kinds of conversation that is very different from, oh my gosh, I need a job yesterday. So this is another template that Navigate Forward donated to us, and it can really help just have a conversation. And please keep this document in mind. It's really a branding document, just like LinkedIn, just like your resume. Keep this in mind when we're talking about networking, impression management, and building your network, because these are the situations in which you would want to use your one pager versus your full 2 or 3 page resume.
Yeah, and I would say, when you're networking, definitely send this ahead of time to people and then send it again the night before. And when you send it again the night before, let people know who you're networking with. What are some of the questions you have? And that, you know, you're really looking forward to meeting with them. And, you know, you're wanting to learn more about their search process, how they landed at this company, what they see as trends in the job market, and who else you should talk to broaden your connections. And if you tell people ahead of time, especially the night before, just in time, you know, it kind of percolates in their brain. And when they talk to you, hopefully they'll have some more ideas. But don't be discouraged if they don't, you know, just give them time. And, you know, you get better at this the more you do the networking. You'll learn all this again from other people, but you get better at it the more you do it. And other people are sometimes great at it and sometimes they're not, and that's okay. You know, you keep doing it, because the more you do it, the better you get. And a lot of people bring this to interviews, the one pager. They bring their resume and their one pager because interviewers like seeing everything on one page, some of them, you know, and it just makes it easier. So I don't know, I always have both. So let's see, I see a question in the chat. Oh, do I have everything? Let's see.
I think
Oh,
we're
yeah.
good.
Are we good on the
I
chat?
just
That was an
entered-
old chat. Okay.
Yeah, I entered some stuff.
I do think I want to
on,
ask a question in
cards.
regards of the resume itself. Where do we fit the personal brand into the resume, and how do we highlight it, or do we need to highlight it on the resume, or is it just something that fits into the social networking and stuff like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the very beginning. Who is speaking so I can find
Marco.
you? Oh, okay, Marco, good. What was the beginning part you wanted to know with the resume?
Yeah, so personal branding, where does it fit in the resume? Do we fit it into the resume? Is it something that we incorporate into it? Or is that something that's just within the social networking?
No. Okay, so yeah, now I get it.
Well, it's all of the above.
So
right?
this,
All of
yeah,
the
it would
above.
go here. Whoops, sorry. So it goes here at the top, that personal branding, and then in the resume here, let's see, it should go in
It's
here,
going-
not just your
yeah.
headline, but all of that.
This is still the one, yeah, if you go back to the, here you go, yep.
Yeah, so this professional summary, you know, which it's not only your brand, it's what your skills and abilities. This is, you know, your tactful self-promotion of what you deliver to an organization. If they hire you, what difference you make for them. So it goes, just to recap, on your resume here. It'll go on your one pager as well. And it goes on your LinkedIn, right? And you're going to get practice talking about that every time you you talk to people. You're going to get better and better at that. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. And yeah, okay, so there. And then I'm going to briefly talk about the cover letter. And you know what I think, so your email that attaches your resume and or your one-page summary, you're going to have a cover letter that you put on that email. But I also like to have that same cover letter as an attachment. That's a PDF attachment as well, so that if you're applying for a job or if people want to print it out, they can also print it out and on a regular sheet of paper too, instead of just on the email. Anyway, that's my own personal thing. But what you're going to do is, wherever possible, you've got the name of the company. Try to track down the name of the person, either the hiring manager or the recruiter. If not, it's like, dear hiring manager or dear recruiter. And then in the first part of your cover letter, you're going to just talk about how you heard about the job, whether you saw it on LinkedIn, whether it was a job posting on Indeed or somewhere else. And if it's a requisition number, let's say it's from their company job posting, you list that. And then you tell them it's the basics. Your resume is attached as well. And then you start making your case briefly for why you think you're a strong candidate for the job, why you're interested, because what you've done in at these companies or in these positions really matches clearly with what they're looking for. And then you're going to give a brief summary, and you can take that, from your one pager if you want, or from your professional summary. And then just list maybe 3 at the most accomplishments that might be relevant, and use bullets. So what you want is white space that just basically you want to show your interest in the job, give a couple examples of why you're a good candidate, and if there's anything optional, but it's really a short and sweet cover letter. It's simply to get people to read your attached resume, or both. So, and it's funny, most people don't spend much time on the cover letter, if at all. Usually it's the resume that gets sent along. Sometimes people send the cover letter, but I'll tell you, so many recruiters and hiring managers value getting a cover letter. It's like you went to the extra time to create a cover letter. So even though it may not help a lot, it's your resume that makes all the difference. It hurts if you don't have it. So that's the cover letter. Yep.
Mike, so cover letters are like a huge topic, right? And I would love maybe in our final Q&A to have our other HR leaders kind of weigh in on this. But so sometimes they're required in an applicant tracking system. If you're uploading an application, you have to have a cover letter and a resume. So then you don't have a choice, right? But if you're if you're applying for a job and you're not uploading something and it's not required, should you still do one? Because I just feel, and Nancy's waving her, I'd love to have Lori and Nancy and Jennifer in, because I feel like they're an old school thing and they're kind of a waste of time. And I don't know. No, Nancy's saying no. Okay, jump in here, resume coaches.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have one. Nancy, what do you think?
So
where's Nancy?
We need her to unmute. Oh, she's talking away. I'm asking her to unmute.
We can't hear you.
Yo, Nancy, unmute.
See what
there
it says?
We go. All right, start over, Nance.
I think that their value is that they're a marketing piece, and any chance you get to have a marketing piece in front of an employer is of some value.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then we've got Lori. Could you weigh in? You're a former CHRO and
Yeah.
been shaken as an executive consultant out there. And then we'll have Jennifer weigh in as well as a hiring manager and change management expert at Optum.
Ah, oh, great.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree that it is rare to get them. When you've posted a job and you're getting all the resumes in, it's not it's few of the candidates who are including a cover letter. So it is a way to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And that means though that, when I'm looking at candidates, I'm not ruling them out if they don't have a cover letter, because that will cut my pool way, 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 way down. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to consider them even without it, but it is an opportunity. And if you do it well, it lets you show off your language skills. It lets you show off your ability to be concise and to the point. It lets you really do the tailoring from your sort of general resume to this particular job that may not jump out just by looking at your resume. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity that can help you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely. I do
Jennifer,
know.
What do you think? Can you weigh in? And you're a new resume coach to this group, this cohort. Could you weigh in on what you think as someone with HR background and deep business background?
Yeah. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Are you Jennifer?
Yeah, apologies. I am not a Zoomer. I use Teams at work, so I'm trying to figure it out. I know I'm not on camera. So I'm actually more on the side of the hiring manager, as Lisa said. So I don't a lot of times see the cover letters just because I work through a recruiter at my organization. But I can tell you that I love it when I get an email or something from the person that I spoke to that kind of just recaps our conversation. And so that's not a cover letter per se, but I think it is a nice polish to see you writing in your own words what you think is important. So that's my perspective. Is I always love to hear from the people that I'm interviewing outside of the recruiter. I have to work through a recruiter because I'm at a very large company, but I just love to hear directly from the candidates.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. You always want to do a follow-up, whether it's networking or interviews, where you recap important points that you want to emphasize. But I would say, to be on the safe side, not every recruiter is as understanding maybe as Lori is. If you don't have a cover letter, I just think, and it's short, make it short. And, there's a standard. I always make a template for myself and then adjust it for each company, and I don't think it's old school anymore. I find people that are 30 years younger or 40 years younger than I am that count on that cover letter. So
all right.
Yeah, it shows you're really interested.
Carlos, the prevailing HR experts have said yes, we should have cover letters. We might want to circle back to how to make that happen if they're not part of uploading into an applicant tracking system. Baketa, you've got another great question about advice on what we shouldn't mention in our resume. So AJ, help me track. We've already got 2 amazing questions for final Q&A. I think what we shouldn't mention that could create bias, and Marco's echoing that question, we should definitely talk about, because
right,
there's a difference between offering very personal information and offering that you are fully work authorized. So I think it's really important for us to have that conversation tonight. Because those are two different things. So let's come back to that. AJ, help me track those.
Okay.
Baketa and Marco.
Yep.
Okay, now Carlos is gonna start his resume from scratch. Carlos, your resume is in a good, everybody, all of you have resumes that are in really good
Yes.
positions. Your resume coaches are going to be thrilled when they see your resumes, and we're going to take everything we've learned tonight and just keep improving them. So we're at our participant and resume coach assignments. Since not everybody's here, I'm going to go ahead and go through this slide. So our coaches who are here, we would love for you to introduce yourselves when we get to your name. And the list is in alphabetical order by first name of our participants. So Aladad, you have been paired with me. Amina has been paired with Peggy Cadlack. Amina, I don't think is here tonight. Amina has a technology background, and Peggy is a consultant, an HR consultant. She's a former chief human resources officer, so she has a lot of experience. Atik, and I apologize, Lori, we've got a misspelling on your name on this list. On the first one, you come up a few times here. So Atik has been paired with Lori, and I think an important thing about this slide is that every single resume coach on this slide has been introduced to Prosperity Ready through networking. So I did not work with any of these people in the past. I was not personal friends with any of these people in the past. This was all through networking connections. So for all of you going through this program, this is a testament to the power of networking. Bisonar is paired with Nancy Frosch. Nancy's not here tonight. Nancy is a human resources consultant. She also has a lot of experience in our with the state and helping people get jobs who are from different backgrounds. I think Kristen is here. Kristen, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, how are you? Happy New Year.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Kristen, we have paired you with Baketa and Hasibullah. We would love for you to introduce yourself.
Great. My name is Kristen Getz, and like Lisa said, I met her through networking and just was really excited about what she was working on. So I asked how I could help. So now I can't even remember if it's, I guess we're going on maybe year 3 that we've known each other. So it's really exciting. I'm happy to be a part of this organization. And I've done a few different things in my work careers, started in technology and then got my teaching license and taught for a while, and then switched gears, and now I've been in human resources since about 2016. So I'm an HR business partner right now, and I see a lot of resumes, so I'm getting really good at picking out like what I think is important. So it's a fun thing to do, and I love these conversations that we'll be having. So nice to meet. Well, nice to be introduced to you all, and I look forward to meeting my partners.
Yeah, Casey, can you just hit maybe page up? I think we're on, I need to still see the grid with the resume coaches and our participants. Perfect, thank you. All right, so So Peggy, I guess we're in different orders here. We talked about, so Nancy Frosch is not with us tonight, but she is a very experienced HR person. Nancy White is here, and Nancy White is paired with Charity and Stas. So Nancy, could you please introduce yourself?
Am I muted or am I unmuted?
You're unmuted. Well, now you're muted. You were
Okay.
unmuted. Yeah, there you go. You're good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am a retired career counselor, and I have worked at several colleges, and I also work for different agencies. My last job was with the state of Minnesota as a career coach. I also, in my previous jobs, I also helped those that were being laid off from the Ford plant. Now we know now that it's completely different than what it was, but help them get on new footing and in new jobs before they left the plant. And so I'm very excited about this. I've helped a couple other participants from this program, and I'm looking forward to helping some more.
Thank you, Nancy. So I think we've covered, I'm losing track here. We should have done this in a different order. So Farzana, I know you just came in. Lori Anderson is your coach. And Hasibullah, Kristen is your coach. Eden, Miriam Youssef is your coach along with Mirwaz, and we will confirm all of that. Jennifer, you introduced yourself. You've got another person, Katara. Kubra, I don't think is here tonight, is assigned to Nancy Frosch. Marco, you are stuck with me. Reina, I've got you as well. And Senta is with me. Stas, who's in Germany right now. So Nancy White, that might be a little bit of a challenge coordinating times. But he's been here every night for the last 3 weeks. So I think he is willing to figure that out. Samia Ali has Tariq and Tawab, and they, Tariq, you're still here, right? Yep, Tariq is here. We'll make sure that, oh, Nancy Frosch is here, awesome. That you get introduced. Zahid is not here tonight, but he has been the last few times. He's paired with Jennifer. And then Zabihullah is with Nancy Frosch, who just came in. So Nancy, let me see if I can see you. If you're in all the way, then we will have you. Oh, hi, Nancy. How are you?
Yeah, hi. I don't see my picture, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see your picture, and we just announced that you are a resume coach for Bizanar and Zabihullah, and he shortens his name to Zabi.
Okay.
Oh, and Kubra. And we're in a little bit of flux. We've never had this many people, you guys, which is a really awesome.
It's a great problem.
Yeah. So we might need to figure out how to move some people around, but I will tell the resume coaches, everybody has a good start on their resumes. I would say many of them are in kind of final draft form. Many of the people in this program we worked with this summer. And then everybody is very clear on just kind of their narrative, the list of where they've worked, their degrees. So I think this will be a really fun group to work with. So Nancy, would love to have you introduce yourself to the group.
Yes, yeah, Nancy Frosch. I've been a career coach for, gosh, I just say over 25 years. So a lot of that was with a career transition firm, and then with the University of Minnesota for 7 years, and with my own career coaching practice for the last 15 years. I work with people really through the whole process, from assessment, direction, all the way through interview prep and negotiation. So
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, so AJ will be sending out introductions, like one-on-one introductions, and if we need to make any changes, we can be flexible. Is there anyone that I missed in terms of introducing themselves?
Miriam is here.
Oh, hi Miriam, how are you?
I'm good. Good evening, everyone. It looks like I'm assigned to Kidden and Mirvice.
Yes.
So I look forward to working with you both on your resume. I've been working with Lisa for a number of years now. As she mentioned, we met through networking in the neighborhood. She's awesome. Prosperity Ready is awesome. I have done a fair amount of resume work of my own and helping others. I am a chemical engineer by training, and I currently work as a senior director of food safety and quality at Schwann's. So happy to work with you both.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank
Can we go back that last screen just 1 minute so I can get that third name down? Oh, there, thank you.
And then we'll send a virtual introduction so you have each other's emails. We've got resumes for everybody, either a narrative or a resume that's pretty close to what we recommend in this program. So that is excellent. And I see we've got Nazari who came in. Welcome.
Hello.
You on the list. Hi.
How are you? I'm so sorry. Today I have an exam in a English class.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
we're happy. No, we're glad you can get here. I know that our early arrivals have so much going on. So thank you for joining. Have we missed any? Are there any other resume coaches we need to introduce? This is a big list tonight, which is great.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, AJ, I think if we advance to the next slide, I think we're ready to.
Yes.
Q&A. Okay, we have some big questions. We have some really big questions. So I don't know, maybe I guess we can leave it on the screen because AJ has quite a bit of housekeeping to do after we answer some of these really amazing questions that everybody had. And again, our resume coaches, your business leaders, your HR executives would love to have you weigh in on Baketa and Marco's question around what is your advice on things that we should not mention on our resume summary or our personal brand that could create bias. And I think there's a big difference between saying you're a recent arrival and that you're work authorized and talking about, I've seen a lot of resumes in the last 12 months that talk about, they give your address, they say you're married, they talk about having children. So those I would say are no-nos. Like,
yeah,
that does not need to be on your resume. If you're work authorized, that should be on your resume, but can our resume coaches kind of speak to, and KC, like what should and shouldn't be in a personal brand statement?
You don't want to give your age. They don't need to know that. And they don't necessarily need to know when you graduated from college either. So I usually tell people leave those dates off.
Yeah. So I would say you're leaving personal information off because in the United States, that has been used for decades to discriminate, basically. And so there are a lot of laws now that HR and hiring managers and corporations need to abide by. Age is one. Having children or not, owning a house or not, your religion, all those personal things, height, weight, none of those things should be on your resume. In fact, even now, a lot of people don't put their home address because that's another way people can discriminate. We don't all live in Edina. And so if you do, great, but that's one of the reasons we don't put addresses on anymore in addition to age. And I think if you've got a really long work history, you'll work with your coach on summarizing maybe the early part of it without dates. And certainly educate, if it's recent, list your education, that helps. If you just got your chemical engineering degree, you probably listed that date, right, Miriam? Because, that adds to credibility. But for like me, I've had 50-year reunions that I don't even want to talk about. I'm not going to list that.
And I always say only the information that leads you to let them know whether you're a good employer or not. And all that personal information does not help. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
In addition, I just want to add, in case you all are used to the CV formats outside of the US, you almost write a book. Like when you compare the US version of a resume to the CV that's used like outside this country, it is like one is a chapter book and one is more like a one-pager. So to the points that have already been mentioned, keep the personal things out of there. The US style resume is pretty focused. It's pretty sanitized almost. You just want to focus on the details. And if at all possible, before you apply to a position, have the job description next to you. And then side by side, try to pair up, try to match the keywords from the job description to your resume, or try to stitch the things that the job is asking for, try to dig them into your resume so that the reader can see how your resume fits with that position. So if time permits and you're able to do that, try to tailor your resume to the job you're applying to, but definitely not the CV style that we might be used to. That is, because we've all seen some CVs that are 4 or 5 pages long and have your entire history. Nobody needs to know that.
The one exception is in the academic world.
Yes.
That's the one exception. If you're going to apply for faculty jobs or adjunct jobs teaching in a university, you need a CV, but without personal information. Yeah.
I mean, but what about in the immigration question and the fact that, or at least in my case personally, my work visa is tied to whether a job is willing to offer sponsorship or not. Like it's enough of a big deal, and I've had this happen before in previous interviews where as soon as they find out that I need sponsorship, they're like, oh, well, we're not sponsorship, sorry, goodbye. Or they say, well, okay, we can work through that. But is it something that is it just worth it for both parts, and in order to make it more concise and not lose time, is it something that's worth putting it in the cover letter or the resume, or just not mention it?
I wouldn't put it in. I would let it come up. And the reason why I say this is because it's very easy for the hiring manager to just say, no, you need sponsorship, too much work, I'm not even going to consider you. But you should give them a chance to get to know you and what you bring to the table, because chances are, if they really want you, they can find a way to make it happen. And I see that even at my job too, where we have this boilerplate template that says we don't sponsor, but when we find the right candidates, guess what we do? We sponsor. So leave it off until it actually comes up.
Yep.
So
We wanna get
Miriam,
your foot in the door.
Miriam, if somebody is work authorized, do you think they should put that on there? But if they're not, if they need sponsorship, they should just let the conversation evolve as the employer realizes what an awesome candidate they have?
Well, the work authorization will come up anyway.
Right,
You know, when
right.
when you get the job offer and they do the background checks and they get all the paperwork, it'll come up anyway. So I wouldn't even bring it up. I would just let them see how great of a fit you are for the position, and
Right.
then they want you. They fall in love. You know, we're dating. We like each other. We want to go to the next level. Yeah, we want to get to the next level. Then
Yeah.
let it come up by itself.
Yes, I totally
Perfect.
agree.
Thank
That's
you.
what we did at Apple, at Cray Research. I mean, that's what you do.
Well, anyone who's looking for support, so we are going to have a representative on our final session coming from World Education Services to talk about accreditation. And we, at the beginning of our session, our kickoff, we had a representative from Senator Tina Smith's office who came and talked about immigration status support. So any of you who are needing help with your immigration status, your work authorization, please reach out to me and I will make a personal introduction to Senator Tina Smith's office. They have been very active in helping people that we've referred. They have actually gotten an entire family a green card interview for February 28th, and that was a referral that we made 2 weeks ago. So you guys know my email address, and it's a quick forward to her office, and they have many people who are I'm impressed with them. They're helpful, they seem to know what they're doing, and they're making stuff happen. So did we cover everybody's questions? I don't know if we covered the really
The
deep
job market.
question about the job market for immigrants and immigrants.
It's always
and
competitive.
US citizens. Like, that's a deep one. That's a good question. And if where are we at on time? Oh, we're good.
Yeah. You know, my experience is no matter when you enter the job market, it's always competitive. It's always hard. And that's just the way it is. And it doesn't matter whether you're an immigrant or, you know, a white man, whatever it is, whoever you are, it's always competitive. You know, and so it's a numbers game. You know, I have found jobs in the midst of major recessions and depressions, and I've also not been able to find jobs when the job market was really strong. So, you know, don't let that stuff get in your head. And I can see Miriam's agreeing with me. I'm sure the other HR coaches are too. It's you have to manage your own mental state in terms of going out and working this. It's a numbers game. It's, if anyone's ever been in sales, it's the more people you talk to, the more you expand your network in your field, the better chances you have of landing. Sometimes it takes longer than for other people, but you will land. You just can't give up. That's my experience.
Well, I have a question actually. Does articulation has a role on getting a job? Like, one thing is that a person should have the necessary skills. Does articulation, like formulating your thoughts in a proper way so you could have a better conversation, does that have a role that people should work on that?
I think yes, to some extent. I mean, when you have an interview, you have what, 30 minutes, maybe 1 hour to make a connection with somebody. And so you have to keep that in mind, that you have that 1 hour to make an impression on that person. So being able to articulate your thoughts, at least to explain how you fit the position is being hired for, I think that's really important. And what that means is that you might have to practice. Honestly speaking, I practice before any interview. You go over the kinds of questions that might come up. Tell me about a time you worked on a hard project. You go over these questions that you anticipate could come up. Before any interview, I just go on Google and I search, interview questions, and you practice. You really should. You really should, because when you practice and you rehearse your answers, then when you actually have the interview, the conversation will flow smoother. So to your point, directly to the point that you asked, is articulation important? I think it is important, because you have a really short window to make an impression. So, if you really want the position, you should do a little bit of homework and prep to make sure that you can maximize the benefit of that short window that you have.
Okay.
Someone that's going to be doing the interview piece, right?
Say that again.
There's someone that's going to be doing the interview piece, right?
Oh, you mean in this program?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So they'll talk about our stories and marketing. You're selling yourself in the interview.
Right. And, I recommend for networking and, and this helps even writing, and it does help with writing your resume, creating a worksheet for yourself where you list your skills and then list what your results are in that star format. And then you keep that as a running list of examples for every competency, every skill that's listed. And you're always adding to that, because every time you interview or network, you're going to think of something else cool that you did or say it better. Right. So you go back to that running list and keep updating it, so that before, just like Miriam said, before you go into an interview or a networking session, you're looking and prepping yourself on those examples so that you're ready to roll.
Back everything up with proof.
Yes. Yep. And you want to get shorter answers. I mean, so that you're not just kind of, as they say, building a clock instead of just telling us the time. An old cliche. And the other thing is, how do you what people remember, and I got this from Richard Dodson, who you'll hear, is people remember stories. So if you can tell your examples, they're on your resume in terms of results, but when you're talking and you're networking and interviewing, you want to tell that as a story about what the challenge was. The company was having a hard time selling, cereal in a market where everybody's buying cereal, and this is what we did. I got the team together, we brainstormed, we looked at data, blah, 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 and we increased our market share by 2%, which is a big deal, right? And so you make it interesting, and you think about, all right, what are the 3 things that made a difference? And you talk in that way so that people can remember, he said, she said, there were 3 things they did that really made a difference. So you help people remember. That's really what you're doing with your storytelling and with your examples.
Okay, thank you.
Probably more than you wanted to hear, but there's one thing that, Lisa, I think 70% of professional jobs are landed through networking, but that's changing. You still have to really look at LinkedIn. If you're still trying to get in to the job market. It might be, I have senior clients that see jobs on LinkedIn and they network in, but more and more companies are using LinkedIn and posting on their websites. So you want to be checking those two. Networking isn't always enough.
All right. Well,
Anyway.
That's exactly right. I think Richard and David will tell everybody in the next few weeks that it's either networking and or LinkedIn that's going to get a professional a job. So
I'm using LinkedIn to network.
Yes. Yes, well put.
All right, so we've got another great question. AJ, if you can capture these questions.
Okay.
And come back to it. I think, yeah, I've been out of the professional job market for so long. I know when I was hiring executives, it was 6 to 24 months to land somebody at the level of everyone who's on this call right now, but that might have changed. So that could be something that would be good for us to revisit as a group. And
it really varies, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just varies from one year to the other. It's some people can do it in 4 months. Some people it takes 13, 14 months. It's the job market is so mercurial, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you try to increase your odds to get lucky. You just have to keep at it. And sometimes it goes really quickly and sometimes and it's not about you. Don't take it personally. Always assume, it's external factors that you have no control over.
And I see that the search is going totally different. Some people won't have any interviews for months and months, and then all of a sudden they've got all kinds of them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Or someone else has lots of interviews and no offers. So it varies.
Yeah. And you just can't give up.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love ending on that. Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Keep coming to these sessions. I think they'll give you new insight. And AJ, why don't you bring us home with, we do have some things that AJ needs to address with the group before we close out. And it is 8:03. So if you need to drop off, we understand. If you can hang on, that would be great as well.
Yeah, so that is great actually. So it's 3 minutes past our time. I'm also going to make it as short as possible. So everybody will get an individual email introducing you to your resume coach. Please make sure to reach out and set up a virtual meeting. Don't worry about what state your resume is in. Your coach will help you with that. As that your draft of your resume is good to be ready by March 10th, and your final resume should be ready by March 20th, because on March 21st, we have our employer partner coming and we want your resume to be in a good shape in that day. And the other thing is that now that I'm sure that we have sent everyone their boxes, please tell me in the chat right now if you have not received your boxes. All of you should have received it except Setin. Oh, I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing the name right or not, but okay. And the other is, okay.
Right. Yeah, good.
Thank you. And the other thing is, I would like to thank the people who sent back their waiver forms. Still, we have so many people who did not send their waiver forms back. Please sign the waiver form and send it back to us. And so the learning assessment, I'm going to send it to you guys tomorrow. And before talking about this learning assessment, I want to encourage you to complete your previous learning assessments, because very few people are actually filling their learning assessments. They're actually also very, very short, which you will get over it in 5 minutes. So yeah, and your learning assessment also helps us to realize how effective our method is, and also it will help you to reflect back on the subject. Hopefully the assessments are also very short and they're also not that hard. So The other thing is, in the post-program email, I will send you the learning assessment and the other materials that you need. I will also copy the resume of every individual in the resume coach match email, which I will send it tomorrow. And before ending the session, I would love to have another screenshot right now, because we also have a lot of people, and if all of you could come in the screen, that would be really great. Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. This just helps. We're going to put this on LinkedIn, which is a professional network, and there are over 1,800 people that we are connected with who will see you and see this post and think about what you might be able to do for their organization. So
maybe some people don't know where to turn it on. If you go to the lower left, usually is start video.
Okay, so I got the screenshots, Lisa. You can end it if you want. Yeah.
All right, so I'll stop recording now.